KC, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, Billy, you touched on this a little bit post game last night, but I was hoping you could expound upon it and just how you thought Lauri Markkanen has played these first couple games.
I think Larry's done a really nice job, on both ends of the floor. I think he's getting in there and trying to rebound. I think he's been aggressive offensively. I think he's done a lot of different things. He's played in some pick and rolls. We had him come off screens. He's set screens. He's had drives to the basket. So I think, he's done a really, really good job. Again, I know for a player of his caliber, so much is predicated on him making shots. But I think he needs to, just kind of get out of that. There's going to be nights he doesn't shoot the ball well, but if he can be a threat, he's always a threat out there. And even if he's not making shots, it opens things up. And I think as long as he's being aggressive, that helps us.
This is a quick follow-up. Sure. How do you think he's fared in terms of growth when his shot's not falling, still finding ways to impact the game?
I think he's tried hard to do that. I think as a young player, generally guys base their performance based on, if the ball's going in the basket or not. And I think he's rim protected. I think he's tried to offensive rebound. I think he's gone in there and he's been physical on drives. I think he's got himself to the free throw line some. So, it can't be all about that for him. I mean, he should have freedom shooting the ball. And if it goes in, great. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. We've got to be able to do the next best thing as a team. And, I think he's really been good in his shot selection. He's taking good shots. But again, he's going to have a night where he doesn't shoot the ball well. That's just the way it is. And then, he's got to be able to do other things because of his length, his size, and his athleticism.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Joe Colley, go ahead.
Hey, Billy, this is kind of not strange, but kind of a big picture. I mean, you spent all those years at Florida and then 5 years at OKC. Is it strange to see young guys that are now 2-3 years in the NBA still talk about, well, I really don't understand pick and roll defense. We didn't do that. Or, drop defense. I didn't do that. I mean, is that kind of a product of all these one and dones where you only get a taste of the college game and then you kind of have to come here and be a big boy quickly and maybe learn some facets of basketball that maybe you didn't understand or know or got skipped?
Yeah, I think going from college, Joe, and being up here now, there's so much of the college game or the NBA game that just doesn't translate to college at all. It's totally different. I think you see in college a lot of times these big guys that are playing near the basket, and that's not the way the game's played up here anymore. There's really very, very few. I mean, certain guys are posting, but you don't see the true center posting up as much anymore. But I think there's like a lot of difficulties because of, one, the widening of the lane, two, the 3-point line and how deep it is, and the fact that there's no defensive rules. So you can just stand in the middle of the lane. And I think that's why the scores are so, drastically low in college basketball, because it's really hard to score because you can load up on best players and there's no rules. And then the 3-point line's in, the lane's, tighter. And to your point, pick and roll coverage, the way the game's played defensively, there's just, in a lot of ways, there's just not a lot of carryover. I mean, I was fortunate enough, like being in college, being coached by Jeff Van Gundy, Rick Carlisle, the year he was out, spent some time with us, having Stan Van Gundy and Steve Clifford, in Orlando, and even Elric Spoelstra when he was in Miami during a lockout. Like, you talk to these guys and you realize that there's a lot of things that just do not translate into the college game. You can't do. Like, it's really hard to throw a pocket pass in a college basketball game just because of the way the defense is so packed in. So I think for a lot of these guys, to your question, I think a lot of these guys, it's a huge adjustment, because you have different coverages. You have certain guys you may be guarding a certain way, and other guys you're playing differently. So I think it's a lot for guys, a lot for point guards and a lot for bigs. And I do think that, to your point, a lot of guys, especially big guys, when they come in on pick and roll coverage, it's drastically different because they've got to do things understanding that a lot of times the pick and roll is going to be guarded with two people. And I think in college, you can just stand guys in the lane and really, really shrink the floor.
Thanks, Billy.
Yep. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jamal. You're up.
Hey, Billy, I know you don't want to reveal necessarily your lineup, but you talked about just kind of weighing the idea of sort of mixing things up or maybe shaking things up. I'm just kind of curious, like what factors were you maybe weighing? Was it kind of just like I'm looking for certain things in my starting lineup? Was it a kind of a matter of like, you don't want a guy if they're struggling to feel like they're being benched? Like, I just kind of, what were your thought process kind of over the last 24
Yeah,
hours?
I don't look at it as necessarily benching anybody. I do think that you got to try to find the right combinations. I think every game we play, at least for myself, it's information on different lineups and things like that. And some things we're going to have to explore a little bit because I said last night that we haven't had a chance to see those things. You know, I really didn't know how Garrett would look out there last night. I thought he did a really, really nice job. Denzel, the same things, missed all of training camp, didn't know what he would look like. Same thing with Sato, just coming back out, from being gone for 10 days. So like some of these guys just haven't played together, and it's going to be some trial and error in putting different guys out there. I think that starting group, if you look at it in a lot of ways, that plus minus, has not been something that's been really, really very good at times. It's been a huge, huge differential. So I think you try to look at maybe, do you bring guys off earlier? Do you do different things to try to help the group? But I think it's a small sample size, just having 2 games. But at some point, I think you have to, look at that as a coach, to try to help the group, and put them in the best position. And then obviously they've got to play better, as well and more consistent. But, I think you have to look at all those things and how you can best utilize each guy's skill set.
Thanks.
Yep.
Joseph Phillips, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. My question to you, with Zach LaVine being more of an efficient scorer off the pick and roll, will we ever see him starting at the 1, which will allow Kobe to open up a little bit, knock down shots?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that will happen or not. I think it's too early to tell. I think, to your point, Zach is very good in pick and roll. He's obviously an elite scorer, elite offensive player. I don't know how that would look, for him having to facilitate. We do some things. We get him in some pick and rolls and get him on the move a little bit. I've always said this, a lot of times the point guard is the guy just dribbling the ball across half court and initiating offense, and just because you're doing that doesn't necessarily mean you're the point guard, so to speak. Kobe has come down and he's played the point, but a lot of times he's initiating offense with a pass and it gets our offense started. So, Zach's obviously got to be a huge part, of our offense. And there's been times where we've moved, Kobe off the ball some and let Zach handle a little bit more just to give him a little bit more space out top. But I think there's got to be a balance in doing that. I don't know right now. I would say we're looking to potentially start Zach at the point and move Kobe off the ball. I wouldn't say that right now.
Thanks.
Yep.
Coach, we got 2 more. Andy from Tab Deportes, go ahead.
Hi, Billy. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you. Your team has struggled a little bit these couple games, and one of the things that you pointed out was guys kind of internalizing their mistakes, sometimes letting their emotions get the better of them. Wendell, for example, was a bit frustrated at the end of last game. Given how young most of your guys are, how do you help them precisely to not stay in their head? Feel free out there hooping and making plays rather than stuck.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily what it is, but I mean, you've got to have the ability to bounce back and move to the next thing. You just do. And, this is a really hard league with really, really great players. And there's going to be ups and downs through the course of a 48-minute game. And, all these guys, we need to develop that kind of resiliency. To me, whether you're a first-year player or whether you're a guy that's in your 10th year, you can go out there and move from play to play. Like every guy's got the ability to be able to do that. And we've got to be able to do that better, as a group. And I've got to help them too. It's not, something that maybe it comes easy to them, but they've got to be able to move past. Like I showed them film today, this morning, as we had those turnovers. It was like 3 in a row. 2 were on an inbounds pass after a free throw, I think, in a made basket or a dead ball. And we turned it over twice. And then I think we had another turnover. And with all that being said, they went up by 1 point. It was a 1-point game, but it just snowballed all the way for a period of time where it was whatever the run was, 21-0, whatever it was. And it went from, okay, we had a couple of these turnovers, 6-point lead is now turned to a 1-point deficit. like you have to be able to come back and respond, as a group. Okay, you know what? Let's get a good shot. Let's get in our offense. Let's get something, downhill to the basket. Like you've got to be able to do that. And I think every guy is capable of doing that. But that's something that I wanted to point out to them. It wasn't like all of a sudden it was like 30 seconds to go in the game. We turned the ball over at the end of the game. We lost the game on those 2 turnovers. As bad as that period was for us, it's still a 1-point game, and then we fought our way, and, it's a 10-point game, and then they go on a 10-0 run to start the third quarter. Like we have to be able to respond, as a group and competitively. You can't have this level of like entitlement. And I'm not saying that our guys do that, but like this thing, okay, you're competing and it's not going my way, and it should not be going my way. It should be going, like, you have to fight. you just have to. And we've got to be better at handling those things, because listen, we're going to be challenged in some areas. It's not always easy for us to score. Sometimes we get some pretty good looks. I think if you look at our shooting percentage in around the basket on close shots, we're shooting about 31%. If you look at Wendell's numbers, he has not obviously shot the ball particularly well. I thought he was more aggressive last night. I think he did a lot of really good things, but he had some finishes that maybe he was frustrated with himself, but he's got to get better at doing that. But that's going to be things that are going to happen for us, where we're going to have these droughts, but we can still grind and defend and manufacture stops to get out on the break to try to generate some easier baskets. But there's going to be certain areas that we can be challenged in. And that's, when you're challenged, you're going to have to fight a little bit harder. Our room for error, margin for error, is not this huge margin where we're just going to overwhelm you with speed, quickness, size, athleticism, and talent. We're going to have to do it together collectively as a group, and they're going to have to pull together as a group. And that's really what it's going to take.
Thank you, Billy.
Yep.
Last question, Coach, comes from Darnell. Go ahead, Darnell.
Thank you, Tim. Billy, what are the keys against this Warriors team tonight?
Well, obviously transition defense is huge. I think obviously early pickup points on Steph, with obviously his ability to shoot the ball the way he does. I think we have got to do a great job of not fouling, and we're going to have to be able to protect the paint first, and we're going to have to get out, to shooters. I think for us, we could see, some switching, 1 through 4. We got to keep the ball moving. We can't get bogged down, and we can't get stagnant against them. Wiseman's obviously a long guy, and Pascal is physical. They come in with Looney, so we're going to have to rebound the ball as well. And then I think on the wings is going to be a challenge. We're going to see Wiggins a lot posting. We have to do a good job on his post-ups. Oubre, also they got 2 really, really long, athletic, talented wings. So we're going to have to do it, like I said a little bit earlier, collectively. We can't just put somebody on an island. We're going to have to show some crowds and some help and try to be able to build out from there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Billy. That's
Thank
it.
you.